Oh, what are you doing, Max Muscle? Putting me in a comparison with Chris Bumstead. Oh, I am far superior to him and his puny little arms. Today, we are looking at Arnold Schwarzenegger and Chris Bumstead for the final time. Perhaps, if this is Chris Bumstead's last competition. Every year after the Olympia, after Bumstead competes, you guys want to see how he stacks up against various different versions of Arnold Schwarzenegger. This will be Chris Bumstead's final time competing. And if it's not, well, we'll do another comparison. But chances are, guys, this is it. And what a fitting way to go. An open class Bumstead. And I know he didn't have much time to fill out, but he was still competing in men's open. So he has the little tiny posing trunks and all of the poses as well. And speaking of that, here's the front double bicep pose. Look at the physiques of these two men. The torso heaps. Just don't look at the arms for a minute. Or the wheels for that matter. And one favors the other. Things of that nature. Just look at the torso heaps. These guys are impressive. Arnold, his waistline, a little bit wider, I would suggest. Keep in mind, guys, it's impossible to judge a guy from the 1960s, 70s. And a guy from today, it's just impossible to do so. It's a photo shoot of Arnold. I don't think I ever used this one before. Or maybe a quick little glimpse in another video, perhaps. For those of you who are paying attention to the grand scheme of things, here's a 74 Arnold. He was one big chunky buzzard, wasn't he? Look at the arms on him. Impressive, destroying Bumstead in that aspect. Of course he is. Arnold is beating anybody. Even today's competitors. Maybe not the triceps, but my soul, those arms, they do battle with anybody on today's stage. Now, might have been a very flattering picture, because here the midsection looks a little wide for Arnold, to be honest. And the wheel department, I mean, it's modern day guys. The modern day competitors are going to have bigger wheels, and that's what's going on here. So sing! Here's the front lat spread. On Predator, Jesse Ventura's name was Blaine. Now, I know you know exactly what I'm still saying. Yes, the front lat spread, a dandy of a pose for both individuals. And you can kind of estimate what Arnold would look like nowadays if he was in men's open bodybuilding. And to be honest, I think this photo shoot is from 74, judging by his hair. A little bit shorter than 75, I would suggest. He was getting into the movies, things of that nature. But having said that, he does have some Austrian oak legs. Not bad at all. Do I say that incorrectly, really? I should do a poll. Do I say legs wrong? Legs? Is that what you want me to say? Honestly? Because I'm not going to say it. It's legs. Right? Anyway. Bumstead has the smaller waistline. Even if they competed in the same era, that would show up. For sure it would. Turn to the... Oh, this isn't a musical. Is it? Turn to the side chest development. And Arnold, what happened to your legs, my man? Well, I say pole wrong. I'll take that criticism. It's pole. I say pole just to be funny. Get a few laughs out of you fellers. But yes, this is 1975 for Arnold. And I'm sure for those of you who watched Pumping Iron, you didn't realize that his legs were half the size as they were the year prior. Now, this is Arnold peak size-wise. Look at the size of the chest. It is a roast and a half. But to be honest and to be fair, for those of you who are intelligent enough to realize the camera is way down and angled just so, probably best friends with the cameraman. Things of that nature. He knew exactly the right angle. And I probably could have made him shorter because he's, he tilted that camera way down. So it's not really fair to use. But having said that, we do know for a fact Arnold had a big man's chest. So big, in fact, that people used to try to touch it in public. It would get weird. It'd be like this old dude coming up to him. "Oh my goodness, look at the size of the chest on that young man. Do you have a place to stay tonight?" But anyway, foolishness. Perhaps. Great big man's chest. People try to touch him in public. Things of that nature. Here's the side tricep. An interesting shot for Arnold. And I go on and on in this same nature every single time I do an Arnold comparison. He should have hit this pose all the time well into his career. This is probably 67. They used to say that. There was a time they said that. 19-7. Anybody in the comments section below? Born in the dickities? Did you guys say that back then? I suppose you would have been born earlier, so you could. If you're born in the late dickities, you probably wouldn't remember anybody even saying dickity. Here's the back, for goodness sakes. And the conditioning is one thing that you are definitely going to have to write off. One thing, interestingly enough, that does not evolve is the meat of the calf. The meat of those guys in the 70s far rivaled that of today's competitors. You know why? We had to walk everywhere. Well, I wasn't born in the dickities or the 70s, early 80s, but even then, we had to walk everywhere. You want to go, pick up a girl, that's your preference, things of that nature. You had to walk from door to door. Now they just sit and text. And their calves suffer from it. They used to walk on the beach, slapstick, ring and run, you see. You light a bag on fire, and you ring the doorbell, and you put poop inside. It is the funniest thing in the world. Arnold's back, pretty darn good. Lat Spread itself. I mean, you gotta think, guys. There's not much evolution as far as that's concerned here. And Chris Bumstead, I mean, you seen him against best of the best up there on the bodybuilding stage, Martin Fitzwater, and his back looked pretty good. So that speaks volumes for the Austrian Oaks back development. And a weak back, here's the rear double. Weak back, I would say no, not even close. Arnold's back was very impressive. And you hear people talk about that, the back's not as strong back then, and they weren't as a whole. But Arnold was underrated. Even in pumping iron, his back was pretty darn good conditioned. Seen some Christmas tree development there. And I think this photo shoot, probably 74, judging by the looks of it. And again, guys, glutes, hamstrings, you're not going to be able to compete with those guys if you're using an older footage. But for the time, Arnold, not much fat on that bum. Look like he's flexing his glutes. Gluteus maximus. Maximus Maximus. Wasn't that one of those Caesar men? Here's the abs and thigh. Was there Caesar men? They wore the little things in their hair. Good Lord. Get a hold of yourselves, Caesar men. If I ever get one of them time machines, I'm going to go back and tell them that looks foolish. All your statues and everything. Caesar. Make a salad, for goodness sakes. The abs and thigh, not a very good pose for Arnold. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? Lie? Say it's good? Here's the most muscular. Yeah, I just can't do that. Arnold looks good here, but this comparison is no good. The angles are totally different. The poses themselves, Arnold's flexing his arms. So again, I can't lie to you guys. Could you imagine if lying was not a thing? If it wasn't invented yet? Here is the crab position. Now this is a good pose. Chris Bumstead reminds me of Arnold Schwarzenegger in this shot right here. Bumstead, Schwarzenegger. The two most famous bodybuilders, perhaps? Some would say in the future, you go into the future, 100 years, maybe they will talk about these two dudes. But I mean, come on, Max Muscle. Ronnie Coleman, he'd be in there too. Absolutely. And then you got to mention Yates and then Lee Haney as well. I don't know why I did Lee Haney's voice in Dorian's accent. Who knows? Who knows? Obviously, out of all the guys, 70s, 80s, 60s, Arnold came through as being the most famous guy because of his acting career, things of that nature. If Bumstead, he gets into the movies. I mean, Bumstead, you're a good-looking guy. Go for it. Canadian too, eh? So save up all those loonies and toonies, Chris. Just give her down to the U.S. Making her big, huh? But anyway, I'm not gonna make fun of you Canadians. I know how you guys can get. You guys get offended. You sending me a polite letter asking me to please, perhaps consider not to be making fun of our country. I'm just joking. I am Canadian. I'm Canadian too, eh? And I'm proud of it. But I'm not a nationalist. I like the Americas. I think I would like to live in Antarctica. Way in the center. Inside of one of them orbs. But I've said too much, haven't I? Subscribe to the channel.